Looked like Caitlin Clark's civil rights has sparked a WNBA and NBA probe by the Trump administration.
The WNBA commissioner is officially in the hot seat right now, facing a full-blown federal government probe into how Caitlin Clark was treated this season. This isn't just about basketball anymore, it's about explosive allegations of civil rights violations, political power plays, and the shocking truth about who really calls the shots behind the league. Stick around, because we're about to uncover precisely why the Justice Department stepped in and what this means for the WNBA's very survival.
Ago that Trump and his administration was coming. I've been preaching on it. I didn't think it was going to hit the NBA first. I thought it was coming to the W first, simply because of Caitlin Clark, her civil rights being violated, and these damn...
This story has more layers than an onion, and it's getting messier by the minute. We're talking Caitlin Clark, the WNBA brass, and now the Trump administration and the Department of Justice are all poking around. Yes, this thing has officially gone way past sports, revealing a potential scandal at the highest levels.
Now, Stephen A. Smith has been someone, too, that has been vocal, has been an advocate about this probe happening.
Reports confirm a civil rights review was sparked over the alleged hostile environment Caitlin Clark endured, from biased referee calls to the league's shocking inaction when fans demanded protection to the constant physical abuse she faced. And guess what? The commissioner is getting absolutely roasted for it.
World that I live in terms of politics. How many times, for one incident after another, have I said, Trump is coming? He's coming. I'm going to say it on national television.
The league continuously downplayed the rough play, ignored desperate fan pleas for protection, and pretended everything was fine, even as clips of Clark getting violently fouled went viral every single week. Now, months later, the Justice Department is involved because apparently, when a league fails to protect its biggest star and creates an environment that looks biased, someone in Washington does take notice. The Wall Street Journal hinted at this months ago, stating bluntly, if the league won't protect its superstars from a hostile environment, the government should. That line aged like a fine chilling wine, because that's exactly what's happening now. And here's where it gets truly wild. Sources close to the investigation say this civil rights angle was one of the key factors that snagged the Trump administration's attention.
It's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. But one thing I will not do is take credit for this. I am looking at the Wall Street Journal. The author of the article is a guy by the name of Sean.
Remember last August? Stephen A. Smith, flat out warned everyone that Trump's people were watching the WNBA closely, even mentioning a senator already discussing this behind the scenes. He wasn't guessing, he was revealing an untold story. Fast forward to now, and boom, it's a national headline. This isn't a coincidence.
Instead of protecting its transformative star, the league's leadership ignores the relentless targeting of Ms. Clark, treating its greatest asset as if she were a PR headache. That approach could turn into a legal liability.
So why is the commissioner taking so much heat? Simple, a catastrophic failure of leadership. While Caitlin Clark was getting hammered on the court, what was the league doing? Posting women empowerment tweets and pretending everything was sunshine and rainbows. Fans weren't buying it. Even neutral observers quickly started calling the league openly anti-Clark. She was the biggest draw in WNBA history, yet simultaneously its most targeted player. The refs let blatant contact slide, rival players took cheap shots at her in interviews, and the league, it stayed eerily silent. This is where the civil rights angle isn't just legal jargon, it's a terrifying reality. Under federal law, if a league demonstrates bias or fails to apply its own rules equally, especially when public perception and accusations of unequal treatment are involved, that can trigger a federal review. And now it is *1. The Trump administration's interest makes it even more explosive. They reportedly view Caitlin Clark as America's sweetheart, a symbol of hard work and merit. If they believe she's being mistreated, they will run with it. Stephen A. warned everyone. If that base picks up this story, the WNBA will regret it. Now every talking head from ESPN to Fox is piling on. This entire disaster was so easily preventable. All the WNBA had to do was ensure consistent referee calls and stop its own players from launching cheap shots on social media. Instead, they inexplicably acted like Clark's unprecedented popularity was an asterisk threat. Asterisk instead of an invaluable blessing. Now they've got the feds sniffing around, demanding answers about why league officials ignored countless complaints. That is never ever a good look. The headlines are out, and the WNBA commissioner is catching fire from every conceivable direction. ESPN, Fox, The Blaze, even major political podcasts are covering it. Some are calling it a long overdue reckoning, others just call it karma. Either way, the situation is dire. You've got senators asking pointed questions, journalists digging into old referee reports, and social media sleuths meticulously compiling every single clip where Caitlin Clark was elbowed, pushed, or smacked without a single whistle. There's a viral highlight reel on X titled "The Hits That Changed the League" with millions of views, while the commissioner continues to issue hollow statements about fostering equality and supporting diversity. Fans are outright roasting her. One post perfectly captured the sentiment. How do you run a league that lets its most marketable player get bullied on live TV? Another hit harder. If this happened to LeBron or Curry, heads would have rolled already. It's hard to argue with that. Even former players are chiming in, some defending the league with its part of the game, while others are echoing what everyone's thinking. The refs treated her differently. When enough insiders start saying the same thing, that's when it transforms into a real problem, especially when the DOJ and the Trump administration are both interested. Here's the part nobody wants to admit. This didn't have to happen. The WNBA could have handled this quietly months ago. A few suspensions, some accountability for the refs, a clear statement that all players would be protected equally. Done. Instead, they arrogantly pretended it was just media drama. Now they've got federal lawyers calling it a civil rights probe, and reporters asking if the WNBA violated its own anti-discrimination code. You can thank pure hubris for that. The league completely underestimated how much the public cared about Caitlin Clark and, worse, treated her success like a threat instead of the unparalleled opportunity it was. So here we are. The commissioner's office is reportedly under intense internal review for its handling of Clark's complaints about unfair officiating. The Wall Street Journal's explosive piece about the hostile environment is being used as critical evidence. Emails and internal memos are being requested, and according to one insider, they are absolutely panicking. Even Stephen A. Smith, who's been warning the league for months, stated this morning that this is truly just the tip of the iceberg. What comes next will be incredibly messy. Subpoenas, sworn testimonies, referees being questioned under oath about their decision-making process, and coaches being grilled about any league instructions. When the truth inevitably comes out, if even a fraction of these rumors are true, it's going to utterly destroy whatever progressive image the WNBA has desperately tried to sell. And you know who wins in that scenario? Caitlin Clark. Because once this legal storm passes, she's going to emerge as a symbol of justice, the player who stood up against systemic bias. Every major brand will want to sign her. Every company will want her in their ads. Meanwhile, the commissioner will be lucky to still have her job. The government's primary role here isn't to decide who wins games. It's to ensure that institutions apply their rules equally and without bias. And when millions of people can see with their own eyes that Clark was hammered on plays that drew no whistle, that's more than enough to raise serious flags. You simply cannot have a league bragging about equality while simultaneously ignoring such obvious bias. It's hypocrisy on full, undeniable display. This is only going to get louder. The Trump administration stepping directly into a women's sports controversy? That's going to dominate headlines for weeks, if not months. Every news show, every podcast, every sports panel, all talking about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark. It might just be the biggest spotlight the league has ever had. Too bad it's for all the absolute worst reasons. And the cherry on top? Sponsors are watching very closely. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, all those companies that poured millions into the WNBA brand, they do asterisk, not asterisk like a civil rights investigation attached to their product. So yes, this is bad for everyone, except Caitlin Clark. If Trump himself speaks on this, which Stephen A says is very possible, buckle up, because that will take this from a sports issue to a full-blown political firestorm overnight. Like Stephen A said, this isn't some random coincidence. It's a stark warning. The FBI doesn't hold press conferences unless it's serious, and they did, which means more is definitely coming. So the commissioner can say whatever she wants, but the court of public opinion has already made its decision. She failed. The fans know it, the media knows it, and now, apparently, the federal government knows it too. And while all this chaos unfolds, Caitlin Clark is about to get richer, more famous, and more powerful than ever. Because every story, every debate, every political soundbite, it's all about her now. She's not just a player anymore, she's a symbol, and symbols they don't lose. But this isn't the first time the WNBA has faced controversy. If you want to understand the full history of league drama and how it led to this moment, check out this video next. You won't believe what they tried to hide. The legal framework underpinning this federal probe isn't as abstract as civil rights violations might sound. At its core, the Justice Department is reportedly investigating whether the WNBA, as an organization receiving public attention and operating under federal commerce laws, engaged in discriminatory practices by failing to enforce its own rules equally. This isn't necessarily about race or gender in the traditional sense, but about whether Caitlin Clark was subjected to a systematically different standard of treatment, specifically, less protection from physical harm and a greater tolerance for aggressive play against her, compared to other players, or compared to how a similarly high-profile male athlete would be treated in a comparable league. The argument is that this disparity created a hostile environment that impeded her ability to perform and critically risked her physical well-being, all while the league leadership not only ignored it but in some cases implicitly condoned it through their silence and inaction. Such a failure to provide a safe and equitable playing field, particularly for a player whose identity and background resonate with a significant politically active demographic, becomes fertile ground for a civil rights inquiry. The DOJ is essentially asking, did the WNBA uphold its duty to all its players, or did it allow a targeted campaign of physical and rhetorical intimidation against one individual to persist unchecked? The answer, according to the federal government, appears to be leaning towards the latter, and that's a dangerous precedent for any professional sports league. What makes this particularly explosive is the explicit political dimension, spearheaded by the Trump administration. This isn't merely a bureaucratic review, it's a strategic move designed to leverage a cultural flashpoint. Donald Trump, known for his keen sense of public sentiment and his ability to tap into perceived grievances, has identified Caitlin Clark as a powerful symbol. For his base, she represents traditional American values, hard work, talent, and a straightforward, unadorned approach to sport. The narrative that she is being bullied or unfairly targeted by an institution perceived as woke or overly progressive resonates deeply with a segment of the electorate that feels increasingly alienated by mainstream cultural institutions. By intervening on Clark's behalf, the Trump administration isn't just protecting an athlete, it's making a statement. It's a direct challenge to what they portray as an elite, out-of-touch establishment that prioritizes identity politics over merit and fairness. This move allows them to champion an America's sweetheart figure, while simultaneously critiquing a league that in their view has lost its way. It's a political masterstroke that allows them to connect with voters on an emotional level, demonstrating that they are willing to fight for individuals who they believe are being wronged by powerful, entrenched interests. This isn't just about basketball, it's about the ongoing culture war played out on the professional sports stage, with the highest levels of government now actively participating. The implications of this probe extend far beyond mere public relations. We're talking about a full-scale federal investigation, which means a rigorous, often intrusive, examination of the league's internal workings. Subpoenas aren't just polite requests, they are legally binding demands for documents, emails, text messages, and internal communications that could reveal a deliberate pattern of neglect or even explicit directives regarding Clark's treatment. Imagine league executives, coaches, and even referees being compelled to testify under oath, their every decision and statement scrutinized by federal lawyers. Any inconsistency, any attempt to obscure the truth could lead to charges of perjury or obstruction of justice. The Justice Department will be looking for concrete evidence. How were complaints about officiating handled internally? Were there specific instructions given to referees regarding physicality? And if so, were those instructions applied differently to games involving Clark? What measures, if any, were taken to address the hostile environment allegations from fans and media? The answers to these questions will determine not just the fate of the commissioner, but potentially the very structure and operational independence of the WNBA itself. This isn't a quick review, it's a deep dive that could expose systemic failures at every level, from game management to player welfare policies. And let's be blunt, the WNBA has a history of missteps and challenges that make it particularly vulnerable to this kind of scrutiny. For years, the league has struggled with marketing its stars, ensuring fair player compensation, and even providing basic amenities like charter flights, issues that have often led to public disputes and player dissatisfaction. While these past issues weren't federal probes into civil rights, they painted a picture of a league often reactive rather than proactive, slow to adapt, and sometimes perceived as out of touch with its own players and audience. This history of management struggles, combined with a sudden, unprecedented surge in popularity driven by one player, created a perfect storm. The league was ill-equipped to handle the spotlight, the increased physicality, and the unique cultural resonance of Caitlin Clark. Instead of embracing her as the game changer she was, they seemingly reverted to old habits of insular thinking and defensive posturing, viewing her disruptive success as a problem to be managed rather than a phenomenon to be celebrated and protected. This current controversy, therefore, isn't an isolated incident. It's the culmination of years of underlying issues finally boiling over under the intense heat of national attention and political interest. The financial implications alone could be crippling. Major sponsors like Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm don't just invest in a product, they invest in a brand image. And that image is meticulously crafted around themes of empowerment, diversity, and positive role models. A federal civil rights probe, especially one tinged with political controversy and accusations of systemic bias, directly contradicts that narrative. These companies have contractual clauses that allow them to pull or reduce funding if the brand is significantly damaged or becomes embroiled in scandal. We could see a mass exodus of advertising dollars, a severe renegotiation of broadcast rights, and a chilling effect on future corporate partnerships. This isn't just about losing a few $1 million, it's about the potential collapse of a carefully constructed financial ecosystem. If the WNBA's brand becomes synonymous with controversy, discrimination, and government oversight, securing future investments and maintaining existing ones will become an insurmountable challenge. And without that financial backing, the league's ability to pay players, expand, or even continue operations becomes severely compromised. The economic fallout could be the final devastating blow for a league that was just beginning to find its footing in the mainstream consciousness. Internally, this investigation is undoubtedly creating deep fissures within the WNBA. While some players and coaches might publicly defend the league's physical style of play, behind closed doors, the pressure is immense. Players are now being asked to navigate a complex landscape where their livelihoods are tied to a league under federal scrutiny. There's likely a quiet but growing dissent among those who recognize the existential threat this poses. Some players, perhaps those who felt overlooked before Clark's arrival, might resent the attention she's receiving, even if it's negative. Others, however, are likely to be deeply concerned about the league's reputation and its future viability. The commissioner's failure to unite the league around its biggest asset has now created a divisive atmosphere, where loyalty to the league might conflict with individual players' desires for a stable, thriving professional environment. This internal strife, coupled with the external pressures of a federal probe, could lead to a wave of player departures, a decline in talent attraction, and a general erosion of morale that will take years, if not decades, to repair. The WNBA was meant to be a beacon of unity and strength, but this scandal is threatening to tear it apart from the inside out. The media landscape is also undergoing a significant shift because of this. While mainstream sports outlets are now covering the story with a new level of seriousness, the narrative is being heavily amplified and shaped by conservative media. For outlets like Fox News, The Blaze, and various right-leaning podcasts, this isn't just a sports story, it's a validation of their broader cultural critique. They are framing it as a clear example of woke ideology undermining merit, fairness, and traditional American values. This amplification creates a feedback loop. The more conservative media covers it, the more politically charged the issue becomes, which in turn fuels the Trump administration's interest and further pressures the DOJ to act decisively. This isn't just news reporting, it's part of a larger political campaign, weaponizing a sports controversy to advance a specific agenda. The WNBA, perhaps unwittingly, has become a central battleground in America's culture wars, a role it never anticipated and is clearly ill-equipped to handle. The league's attempts at damage control are being drowned out by a chorus of voices eager to dissect every perceived failing through a highly politicized lens. Looking ahead, the potential outcomes of this federal investigation are varied, but none are good for the WNBA as it currently stands. The DOJ could issue a scathing public report detailing systemic failures and discriminatory practices, severely damaging the league's credibility. They could mandate structural changes to officiating protocols, player protection policies, and internal complaint mechanisms, effectively stripping the league of some of its autonomy. In the most severe scenario, individual league officials, including the commissioner, could face personal repercussions, ranging from forced resignations to legal penalties if deliberate malfeasance is uncovered. And even if the probe concludes without criminal charges, the sheer reputational damage and the loss of sponsor confidence could be irreparable. The WNBA might emerge from this with a tarnished brand, struggling to attract new talent, and facing a deeply skeptical public. For Caitlin Clark, however, this ordeal will only cement her status as a cultural icon. She will be seen as the catalyst for desperately needed change, a player whose talent and integrity forced an entire institution to confront its shortcomings. Her narrative will be one of perseverance and justice, making her an even more compelling figure for endorsements and public speaking engagements. This investigation, while a crisis for the league, is a crucible for Clark, from which she is poised to emerge stronger, more influential, and undeniably legendary. The WNBA's very future hinges on how it navigates this unprecedented federal intervention, and frankly, the odds are stacked against it.